Professor and Head Department of Environmental Science and Dean Student Welfare at Integral University, Lucknow. Sir is an environmental management and faunal expert with 24 years of experience of research and teaching in biodiversity, climate change, wildlife, wetlands, fisheries, forestry, clean development mechanism, remote sensing, and GIS, etc. He is a doctorate and MPhil in zoology from Aligarh Muslim University and holds a postgraduate diploma in remote sensing from Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, Dehradun, and is also a lead auditor environmental management system. He is former director of Indian Regional Climate Center Earth Watch UK and officiating director Europe Regional Climate Center at Oxford for Europe Earth Watch Institute UK for a global project on climate change under HSBC Climate Partnership program during 2018 to 2012. Sir has chaired number of sessions in international, national seminar conferences and delivered keynote addresses. He is member of various editorial boards and has guided and guiding number of PhD students from India and Nepal in interdisciplinary fields of environmental and wildlife conservation. He has published 7 books, number of book chapters, and more than 100 research papers, technical reports, articles in national and international journals, magazine, and is currently an IUCN member World Commission on Protected Areas. Now, I would like to welcome Sir and enlighten us with your words of wisdom. Sir, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Junaid, and I'm for the kind introduction. I'm humbled. Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank you all for giving me this opportunity and welcome all the participants. I'll be extremely happy to share my experiences because I have lived this, which I'm going to talk about. I have spent a lot of time in, marine research, and I have sailed for 2 years. I was in the Indian Ocean, traveling from different places during my doctorate time. So I would like to share a presentation and go along and talk regarding that. So please allow me to share that presentation. So can you all see my slide, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, uh, well, the topic which has been interested to me is very, very interesting and very close to my heart. It is actually degradation of marine life and legal aspects of that. You people are better legal aspect, but I can just talk about what are the things which are available, especially for our law students, and the people who are interested in that. I will discuss about that. But before we move on, uh, first, when you see this image, only one thing which comes in mind. I'm sure you must be identifying this. This is really very beautiful and colorful life under the sea. And those who have not experience of spending time or going towards the seashores or going into the out into the ocean, it's difficult for them to realize that life is very, very colorful under the sea. It is even more colorful than what is there on the land because you have some limitations on the land. So when we talk about marine ecosystem, these are the important aspects, and it is important to remember that it is the largest aquatic ecosystem in the world. 71% of the world area is oceans, and remaining only 29% that is among divided into landforms and other aspects. So we have intertidal, that is splashed zones in that. We have beaches, and among them there are divisions which are called pelagic and the benthic zones. Why I'm telling, because when we talk about the law, it is better to understand about which aspect or ecosystem we are talking about. So one simple ocean zone classification, that is between the water and the ocean floor, and water is referred to as pelagic zone, and it is organisms that swim through the water column. They are known as nectants. We have phytoplankton, we have zooplanktons. The ocean floor, which is referred to as the benthic zone, is the organism that live here are benthic. That is in the below areas, benthos, it is called. Then we have species which have evolved, which has evolved traits as per the environment, and we have very unique species. We have species which are, divided into like blind cave fishes, humpback angler fishes, lantern fishes. So very very unique life exists below the sea. And it is important to know that, as I told, more than 70% or 71% of the Earth's surface is the marine ecosystem. And most important aspect is that the global circulation models, they recognize the strong physical link between ocean temperature and global climates. So whatever, the hurricanes or the tornadoes or the climatic changes or the weather changes which are happening, it is only because of these marine ecosystems. And these are different types of important types of marine ecosystems, which we can broadly classify as oceans, the estuaries, salt marshes or the mangroves and coral reefs, or the kelp beds and the sea grass beds and the rocky, sandy, and muddy shores. Well, we have to link everything, and there is a very strong connection. Nowadays we all are working on, linking our aspects, our subjects, and our, because the world is working on achieving, every country is striving hard to achieve the sustainable development goals, which are 17 in number. And this particular aspect which I am discussing today, that is life below water, it falls under sustainable development goal number 14. Because as I have already told you, that oceans, they cover three-quarter of the earth's surface, and they contain 97% of the earth water, and it represents 99% of the living space on the planet by volume. So the climate change, in terms of climate change, the oceans, they absorb around 30% of the carbon dioxide produced by humans, which is buffering the impacts of the global warming. And carbon emission from human activities, they are causing ocean warming, acidification, and oxygen loss. And the oceans have also absorbed more than 90% of the excess heat in the climate system. So ocean heat is at record levels, causing widespread marine heat waves. And this, we all are testimony to it, that every year which is coming is becoming hotter and hotter than the previous years. And our oceans, our marine resources, they are also not able, there is a carrying capacity. Beyond that, it will be difficult for them to even carry or to assimilate or to absorb the carbon dioxide. So in terms of ocean and people, why it is important? Because more than 3 billion people, they depend on marine and coastal biodiversity for their livelihood. And globally, the market value of the marine and coastal resources and industries is whooping $3 trillion per year, or about 5% of the global GDP. So that you get from the oceans only. Then the marine fisheries directly or indirectly employs around 200 million people. And the coastal waters, they are deteriorating due to pollution and eutrophication. And roughly 80% of the marine and coastal pollution that originates on the land, including all this pollution which we are causing to the oceans, is originating from land, from the agricultural runoff, from the pesticide, from the plastics, and the untreated sewage. And around the world, 1 million plastic drinking bottles are purchased every minute. I'm talking about every minute. 1 million plastic drinking bottle, while up to 5 trillion use plastic bags are used worldwide. And I am happy that government of India has stopped single-use plastic bag, and that is one of the best steps which it has taken, and it has got a direct linkage in saving the pollution, in reducing the pollution to our coastal and marine ecosystem. And around 680 million people which live in the low-lying coastal areas, they are expected to increase to around to a billion by 2050. And these are the areas which are highly prone to the floodings. Then sustainable and climate resilient transport, which include maritime transport, is key to sustainable development. So instead of making roads, instead of making tar roads and cutting trees and then doing development through highways, we'll have to use oceans as highways, as expressways, because that will be much better maritime transport system. And around 80% of the volume of the international trade in goods and care is still carried by the sea. So maximum trade is being done through sea. So in terms of this target 14, the sustainable development goal 14, we have number of targets. I'm not going to read about that, but in that, all the methods, all the measures, and very good, points they have been discussed, that how we can achieve those sustainable development goals. Then in terms of marine pollution, it is a major problem which affect the ocean and rest of the earth, and it directly affect the ocean organisms and indirectly affect the human health and other resources, because every third or fourth person on this earth, it eats, you know that fish. It takes protein from the fish, and if that is polluted, certainly the humans are also going to be polluted. Then oil spills and the dumping of the toxic waste and other harmful material into the sea, they're all major sources of pollution in the ocean. And marine pollution is an issue that has been of global concern for the past several decades and is still continuing causing. So United Nations, it came up in 1982 with a law which is called United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. It is called Law of the Sea in 1982. Or in brief, we call it UNCLOS. So UNCLOS 1982, that is known as Law of the Sea. It divides marine areas into five main zones. That is internal waters, territorial sea, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zone, and the high sea. These are the five categories. So it is the only international convention, UNCLOS, which stipulates a framework for the state jurisdiction in maritime spaces, and it provides a different legal status to different maritime zones. It provides the backbone for offshore governance by coastal states and those navigating the oceans. It is not only zones, that is coastal states, offshore areas, but also provides specific guidance for the states, rights and responsibilities in the five concentric zones which I have mentioned. Broadly, if you look into this, that law of the sea legal regions is, starting from the land, moves on to geological continental shelf, then the shelf edges, and then the ocean, which has got very clear cut demarcation. That is, initial it is national airspace, and below that territorial sea, which is almost 12 nautical miles. And then we have contiguous zone, which is another 12. So together from the land is 24 nautical miles. Then we have an exclusive economic zone, which is from the land or the continental shelf around 200 nautical mile. And beyond that is high seas. So when we, for example, India, we have 7,500 kilometer long coastline. Around that 200 nautical mile all along is the area which belong to us, that is called exclusive economic zone, in which we can undertake lot of activities, and beyond that is the high sea. These are the maritime zones which I have explained over there in a different chart. Same thing, maritime zone, which, so you have to just remember that 200 nautical mile is the minimum area which is allowed for a country for exploitation of fishery and other resources. And this is the area of dispute. You can see that why countries they fight with each other, because there is a lot of overlap. If we look into Brunei, Malaysia, Vietnam, China, Taiwan, and Philippines, they don't have, most of the area is overlapped with each other, because as the UNCLOS, the International Law of Sea, 200 nautical miles. But since these countries are so close by, there is a overlap. So this brings conflict. Same thing if you look into the our country's map. Just have a look. Sorry, that on the west coast, east coast, and everywhere, keeping that 200 nautical mile, this is the area which we have. You can see that over here. Again, you can see that naval hydrographic charts. They have divided this area into this different. These are some of the countries, red color countries, who have not signed the law. Then we have other law also. Have a look over here. It is called Marpol Convention. It was in 1973 that International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, as modified by Protocol of 78, it was called Marpol. It is because, very interestingly, six aspects were taken care of. That is how to prevent pollution by oil, control of pollution by noxious liquid substance, then prevention of pollution by harmful substance, then prevention of pollution by sewage from the ship, and then pollution by garbage from the ship and air pollution from the ship. So very broadly, it is covering almost everything, and it was replaced in the earlier 1954 International Convention we were having. It is called Oil Pool, or in short, it is called Convention for Prevention of Pollution of the Sea of by Oil. So MARPOL, it seeks to achieve the complete elimination of international pollution of the marine environment by oil and other harmful substance, and the minimization of the accidental discharge of such. Then this Oil Pool Convention 1954, which was for the prevention of pollution of sea by oil, was adopted in London in 1954 and was a significant achievement at that particular time. But it has some loopholes, because when the accident started happening and the oil spill, the ships which were carrying all these things, so these were some of the weaknesses which were found. And the oil pool mainly regulated pollution resulting from routine tanker operation and from the discharge of oily water from machine, but they have not covered about those other type of ships. So it was again replaced an international convention on oil pollution, that is called Preparedness, Response and Cooperation, OPRC 1990, which came into force in 13 May, and protocol, and which covered related to hazardous and noxious substances also. So the area increased and the pollution under control, the area gamut was increased. Then came the International Convention on the Control of Harmful Anti-Fouling System of the Ship, because with time we learn. So it came in 2001 that anti-fouling paints commonly used to paint the underwater area of the bottom, it was causing concern, and that's why this convention came. Then we had International Convention on the Removal of the Wrecks, broken ships, and these ships are huge, in hundreds of tons. So these wrecks have to be removed, and under this convention, it was covered. Then we have International Convention on Establishment of International Fund for Compensation of Oil, and then 1992 fund which pays compensation. So they have already designed that if the damage exceeds the limit of the ship owner's liability, or the ship owner is exempt from liability, 1992 CLC, or the ship owner is financially incapable of meeting. So different types of damages, the fines were there. Then in 1992, International Convention on Civil Liability for Oil Pollution Damage. And the purpose of this convention was to pay compensation to that suffering oil pollution damage in a state party to the convention. However, spill from the tankers during ballast voyages and spills of bunker oil from other ships other than tankers are not covered. And that is why amendments were required every time. Well, in terms of all this pollution, the impact of ocean acidification is very damaging, because the animals which are shelled animals, they were not able to have the shells, and these are those micro or planktons or zooplanktons or other important aspects which are the important key to the food chain of the fishery. So if there are no mussels, if there are no shelled animals, then the whole fishery will collapse, and that has started happening because we had already seen that fishery has collapsed. I will give you some example. This is the ship you can see, which Matsya Shikari, in which I have spent 2 years of my time. And these coastal zone fishery resource assessment studies we have conducted, in which remote sensing and GIS we have used, and satellite synchronized cruises for the fish survey we have conducted in Bay of Bengal for 2 years. And this data was given to the government of India, in which potential fishing zone mapping. So instead of blindly going to the ocean, you used ocean color, ocean temperature, geoids, and we mapped using satellite data, and we could predict, very easily predict, that the zone in the ocean where the temperature is say 25 degree to 30 degree, these are the important fishes which will be found. And I did my work for my PhD in this particular aspect, and I could identify 29 fishes using ocean color, geoids, and satellite data. Then this is 1982 United Nations. I have already talked about this. See, I'll give you an example that how important it is. In the Arabian Sea, humpback whale, it is a species which is found in all the five major oceans. It is huge. This humpback whale is a species of baleen whale, and it is one of the largest species with adult ranging from 12 to 16 meter and weighing around 25 to 30 metric tons. This inhabit the Arabian Sea and are a small subpopulation of humpback, which are most genetically distinct. And this humpback whale population is perhaps oldest on the earth, 70,000 years old, which is extremely unusual in a species frame. And this species migrate from Oman coast through the Arabian Sea along the Indus till Sri Lankan coast. So you can find out if you happen to travel in this. And the ship strike, unforgiving fishing gears, and seismic exploration, they are the grave threat to this humpback whale. The second threat because of pollution is to the marine turtle. You can see over here beautiful colored marine turtle, and they are very, very specialized turtles, which are almost five different species. Indian coastal water and island, these are the olive ridley, green, hawksbeak, leatherback, and the important leatherback turtles which are there. So these marine turtles, they are being impacted because of the pollution. Then this particular animal, you have a look. This is dugong, very beautiful animal. It is dugong is medium-sized marine mammal, and it is you know uh, highly endangered because of this pollution aspect. It is happening, and it is a enormous vegetarian that can be found in warm coastal water, including the Red Sea. Then important environmental and biodiversity acts which have been passed by the Indian government related with this marine and water fisheries act. That is Fisheries Act in 1897, Indian Forest Act 1927, Marine Mining and Mineral. So these are all conservation act which are helping in some or the other form. Well, fish production during the recent years, if you look into it, that the marine fish production is on the decline. Inland, because we are, it is fine. This is the ship which we take out when we go for research, Another photograph of the same. This is the demersal trawl. When we do for marine, I would like to share with you, because the similar experiment we did for almost 2 years. My ship is there on the top of the uh, ocean surface, and then huge long, almost 1 kilometer long sleeves are there, in which the bottom trawling, it is called, the net is put down, and two huge, on the side there are plates, steel plates, which take it down, and this is being trawled down there, for called bottom trawling. And all the fishes over there in the bottom, they are captured in the bag. It is just pulled up, and when we pull it up, we use these gears. These are the gears which we use. It's a huge one. And then you can see, that on the top we spend, which is called monkey deck. And on this monkey deck, we have to then segregate this thing, and this segregation is done. And these fishes, different types of fishes, they are segregated. You can see, this is some of the photograph which I have taken, electric ray. This is the shark, and this I have taken a photograph. You can see such a huge fish. If this one fish is given to there, I think your whole department can have a feast. This is a karkara fish, and this is the whale shark which was swept off on the Chennai coast, and it was photographed. So thanks for caring about the ocean. This is all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for this thought provoking and informative lecture. Sir, if you may allow, our attendees have some questions.
Most welcome. Please.
Sir, in an ideal world, what do you think should be done more to conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas, and marine resources?
See, I always say, because I'm a naturalist, I'm a biologist, wildlife, leave nature as it is. If you don't interfere, if human don't interfere, nature will take care of themselves. We are the biggest nuisance, and wherever we go, we take pollution with us. We have taken pollution to Antarctic, to Arctic, to all the oceans in the world. So just leave oceans as such; they will recoup. And second important thing, as I said, it is the pollution aspect, because this is all which we have created for our automobiles, for our own comfort, but we have not thought that consequences. And we think initially it has been thought by everybody that कुछ भी हो उसको नदी में डाल दो, समुंदर में डाल दो, साफ हो जाएगा. But that is a wrong notion, because they are also living like us. They are also living ecosystems. They also breathe. उनको भी चोकिंग होता है, उनको भी ऑक्सीजन की कमी हो जाती है, वो भी मर सकते हैं. अगर ये रियलाइजेशन हो जाए, आई थिंक देन दैट विल बी द बेस्ट थिंग टू कंजर्व दैट.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question. What are the economic values of sustaining the lives below water?
Huge. I tell, in fact, to be honest, if you save life below water, you are saving yourself. The humanity is saving yourself. इससे ज्यादा वैल्यू तो नहीं हो सकती कि आपके खुद का जिंदगी बच रही है इनकी वजह से. एंड आई हैव टोल्ड यू, आई हैव स्पेंट लॉट ऑफ टाइम इन ओशन. आई वाज देयर. स्टिल साइंस, इतने हम चांद पे कई बार जा चुके हैं, लेकिन अभी भी हम 100% अपने ओशन को नहीं जानते हैं. We hardly know 10% of our ocean. 90% we really don't know. So that is such a huge, huge thing. So it still, new and new things are coming up. All your medicines which are coming up. I was there while one study was conducted, and fortunately from Lucknow only, CDRI, they came up with a drug, Saheli, for that. So Gorgonia, there are so many species which are found below the ocean, which are going to be the savior for humanity for tomorrow, because the medicines will come out of it, the food will come out of it. So that's why we have to save it.
Now, I would like to thank our distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. Munawar Alam Khalid sir, for making excellent presentation and making this FDP interesting and meaningful. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.